Hello and welcome to my channel. Today is Tuesday, so it's time for True Crime Tales. So with that being said, you know, we always have content warning. It gets graphic, it gets violent, we talk about crazy shit. So with that being said, let's get into it. Today is about Wayne Nathan Nance, known as the Missoula Mauler, was an American serial killer in the state of Montana. Nance was shot and killed while committing a home invasion of a co-worker's residence. Thus, Nance was never formally charged, tried, or convicted of any murder. Authorities reported that physical evidence linked Nance to several unsolved murders. Law enforcement believed Nance committed at least 6 homicides, although it was strongly suspected that he may have had many more undiscovered victims. Before Nance's death and the discovery of his crimes, some of his murders were tentatively ascribed to David Meierhofer, a native Montanan and military veteran. Meierhofer confessed to 4 murders and then killed himself in custody in 1974. Wayne Nance was born on October 18, 1955 in Clinton, Montana, to George Edwin Nance, a long-haul truck driver, and Charlene Mae Mackey, a waitress. Nance lived in a motorhome outside of Milltown, Montana, which is east of Missoula, and was described by teachers and classmates as an academically gifted yet eccentric individual who was also a juvenile delinquent. Friends claimed that during his adolescence, Nance frequently boasted of worshiping the devil and had even used a hot coat hanger to brand himself with satanic symbols. He also had bragged about wanting to commit a murder before he was 19 years old. Nance graduated from Centennial High School in 1974. Nance is believed to have raped and murdered a 39-year-old woman named Donna Lorraine Pounds on April 11, 1974 in West Riverside, Montana. Pounds, who worked part-time at a Christian bookstore, had arrived home at 3:30 p.m. and is believed to have encountered Nance in the master bedroom. He was armed with her husband's .22 caliber Luger rifle, with which he fired a warning shot at the bedroom wall. Nance was wearing latex gloves, one of which he was found at the scene, and carried with him a black gym bag, from which he produced a white clothesline, which was used to tie Pounds to her bed. Nance then raped her before forcing her downstairs into the basement, where at point-blank range, he shot her 5 times in the back of her head. He then inserted the barrel of the gun into her vagina and left the property. Donna's husband, Harvey, arrived home at 6 p.m. and discovered that Pounds had been held captive in her basement, tied to a chair, and shot. 3 eyewitnesses claimed they saw Nance, an acquaintance of the victim's teenage son, in the area about the time of Pounds' death that afternoon. One witness claimed they saw him in the yard of the Pounds residence, and another said they saw him leaving the house with a black gym bag and heading in the direction of the Tamarack Trailer Park, where Nance lived with his parents. The Pounds' son had also shown Nance where his father had kept his gun, and Nance was a regular at the house. When questioned by police, Nance admitted that he had not gone to school that day, but had stayed home in order to work on a school project. He had been out in the area, he said, foraging for the materials that he needed. Insufficient evidence prevented Nance from being charged with her murder. Years later, police searched Nance's home and discovered evidence linking him to the Pounds murder. Nance served in the United States Navy from 1974 to 1977, and investigators later suspected he might have committed more crimes while traveling for his military service. On November 29, 1977, Nance received a general military discharge on the grounds of misconduct after he was found with stolen items, LSD, marijuana, and illegal butterfly knives. After his discharge from military service, Nance visited Seattle, Washington in July 1978, where 15-year-old runaway Devonna Louise Nelson went missing. On February 27, 1980, her badly decomposed body was discovered by the crew of a slow-moving freight train on a road bank close to Interstate 90 in the city of Missoula, resting against a chain-link fence. Because of the condition of her body, her remains were not identified until February 16, 1985. She had no shoes or underwear, and her dress was hitched up around her neck. Nelson had been stabbed in the chest. Prior to her identity being confirmed, she was dubbed Betty Beavertail after the nearby Beavertail Hill State Park. Nance is suspected of killing Nelson, but has not been definitively linked to the crime. The body of Marcella Sherry Marcy Bachman, 16, was found in an advanced state of decomposition on December 24th, 1984 by a wildlife photographer. The body had been buried in a shallow grave, and her decomposed leg was protruding out of the frozen ground. Strong evidence indicates that Nance murdered Bachman. Investigators found hair similar to Bachman's in Nance's home. She had run away from Vancouver, Washington due to conflict with her family. She was killed by 3 gunshots to the head. Like Devonna Nelson, Bachman was given a nickname before she was identified, Debbie Deer Creek, after a nearby drainage basin. Is it basin or basin? Bachman was identified in 2006 through DNA profiling. Her cremated remains were subsequently interred. Bachman had been seen alive with Nance, who had taken her in after she was left by a trucker in the area. She used the name Robin and claimed to have been either native to Texas or had passed through the state. When asked by acquaintances about the whereabouts of Robin, Nance would say she's gone and claimed that she had run off with a trucker or that he had put her on a bus. Bachman's grave was 2 miles from Nance's home. Nance claimed she had left the area on September 28, 1984, which was about the time she was killed. Her brother, Derek Bachman, had been searching for Marcella since he was 21 years old, along with a private investigator. He originally believed that she may have supported herself as a prostitute while away from home and may have become a victim of Gary Ridgway. Ridgway murdered at least 49 runaway children and prostitutes during the 1980s and the 90s. However, Marcelo was never identified as one of his victims. When police conducted a search of Nance's home after his death, they found a series of photo booth pictures of him and Bachman. A strand of her hair was also found in Nance's truck. On September 11, 1985, the skeleton of Janet Lee Lucas, 23, was found in Missoula, Montana with 2 .32 caliber bullets in her skull, 3 miles away from where Bachman had been found. Investigators believe she died between 1983 and 1985. Lucas's remains went unidentified until May 2021, and she was initially believed to be of Asian descent. Like other Jane Does found near East Missoula, Lucas was given a name before she was identified, Christy Crystal Creek. Try saying that 5 times fast. This is enough for me to say it once. Based on examination, her age range was between 18 and 35. She was between 4'10" and 5'2", and weighed between 90 and 110 pounds. Examination indicated that she most likely had a history of smoking and had many fillings in her teeth, as well as 2 root canals. She also had oral surgery that used characteristically Asian dental techniques involving the screwing of a dental post into the tooth. After genetic genealogy research was conducted after a successful DNA extraction, it was learned that Lucas originated from Spokane, Washington, having disappeared from Sandpoint, Idaho, during the summer of 1983. It is unknown when or why she came to Montana. Nance has not been definitively linked to this murder, but he is the only suspect. Nance was also responsible for the December 12, 1985 murders of 34-year-old Michael Robert Shook and Teresa Lynn Shook, 32, in Ravalli County, Montana, who were tied up inside their home and stabbed to death. Nance, armed with a gun, walked into the household at 9 p.m. and introduced himself as Conan the Barbarian. He then demanded their money and fired off a shot, which hit Teresa in the leg. A post-mortem examination would reveal that Nance had tried to dig the bullet out of her leg. No idea why. This led to belief that Nance had not intended to hit Teresa and was aiming to instead fire a warning shot. After shooting Teresa, Nance locked Michael and Teresa's 3 children into their shared bedroom. A physical altercation ensued in which Michael suffered a blow to the head. He was then tied up and stabbed in the chest with a butcher knife. Teresa was forced upstairs and tied to the bed. She was raped before being stabbed to death herself. Her body would be found clothed, apart from her underwear, with a pillow over her face. A neighbor saw a pickup truck which matched the description of Nance's vehicle leaving the Shook's property. 2 hours later, Nance returned, robbing the family of an elk statue, a stag-handled hunting knife, and a silver dollar collection before attempting to set fire to the home. The fire smoldered but did not catch. However, the intended ignition material released cyanide gas into the airtight house. The couple's 3 children survived the crime after they were rescued by neighbors. Items stolen from the Shook residence were later found in Nance's home, and it was determined that Nance had delivered a new couch to Mike and Teresa Shook at their house only days before their murders. So he was delivery boy and decided, you know what, these people have some really nice stuff, so I'm gonna, like, shitty. And this is why you should never trust people. I don't care what service you're hiring through. I don't care if you've worked with them before. You just don't trust people. And always have access to a phone when somebody you don't know very well is in your house so that you can call 911. Just saying. During Nance's adulthood, he worked as a mover for the Collins Furniture Department Store, where he was described by his employers and coworkers as an average guy. However, several female customers had complained about harassing phone calls they had begun to receive after getting a delivery from the store and had singled out Nance as being the caller. He had also begun taking photos of his female colleagues. Wayne was also reported for using a peephole, which he had found, and blamed on other members of staff. Let's be real, he probably made the peephole. When questioned, these employees insisted it had been shown to them by Nance, not the other way around, which I fully believe. On September 3rd, 1986, Nance attempted to murder husband and wife Douglas Wells and Kristen Wells. Nance worked at the Wells Furniture Moving Company. Doug discovered Nance lurking in the bushes outside of his property at midnight and demanded to know what he was doing, upon which Nance told him that he was passing by and had spotted someone lurking outside of the house. Nance asked if he could borrow a flashlight, and after Doug went with him inside, Nance struck Doug in the head before tying up both him and Chris. Nance then stabbed Doug in the chest and left him to die in the basement. Nance forced Chris into the bedroom on the 2nd floor to rape her. Although badly wounded, Doug managed to free himself and load 1 bullet in a rifle he had been repairing. Doug caused a commotion to lure Nance away from Chris and to the top of the basement stairs. Nance and Doug engaged in an altercation, ending with Doug shooting and incapacitating Nance. Nance and the Wellses were rushed to the hospital, where Doug and Chris made full recoveries. Nance's injuries proved fatal, and he died the following day. Good for Doug. Good for Doug. Doug should get an award. Should. After the incident with the Wellses, authorities investigated Nance's background and other crimes. After initially noting similarities between the Wells incident and the murders of Michael and Teresa Shook, Nance was found to be in possession of a large collection of photographs of Chris in his wallet. Some had been taken from the bushes along the route Chris would go for a jog. Others he had collated, so like he created a photo album or like a scrapbook, along with notes such as, "I love you, I am crazy about you, and I want you to live with me." And that's the end of the story. But yeah, like, he was a special cuckoo bananas case. Like, dude needed help. Dude needed so much help. But yeah, that's where we're at. So, as always, thanks for hanging out with me. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Be cautiously kind to others. And make good choices. And I'll see y'all next week. Bye.